Hey everyone, good evening. It's Scott at Scott Trades on X with StockMarketMentor.com and your chart of the day. Want to take a look at Arista Networks. This is ticker ANET. Now I see a potential higher low setup here on ANET, where we made a low on Friday, November the 21st, and then we made a potential higher low here on Wednesday of this week. Now, we'll know it's a higher low if we get a higher high. And for that to happen, we need to see a move through and a close above that 50-day moving average. Now, if that happens and the market rallies into the end of the year, I could see this potentially testing some of the highs in and around 160. So watch for ANET to get above and stay above that 50-day moving average and race towards some of the previous highs here into the end of the year. That's just one of many setups we're watching right now at StockMarketMentor.com. I hope that's helpful, and I'll see you next time.